Have you ever met a woman who walks into a room and without saying a single word, everyone feels her presence? It's not her outfit, it's not her title, it's not even her success. It's something deeper, something magnetic. You can't quite name it, but you know it when you see it. What if I told you that every confident woman, from the boardroom leader to the stay-at-home mom who runs her world with grace, knows a secret that doesn't come from a book, a mentor, or a motivational quote on Instagram, but from within? Today, I'm going to share with you that secret, the one thing confident women understand that changes everything: how they think, how they speak, how they rise, and how they never let fear decide their future. Because once you know this secret, you'll never see yourself the same way again. True confidence comes from self-trust, not perfection. The world often teaches us to chase perfection, to have the perfect body, the perfect career, the perfect relationship, the perfect plan for our lives. From a young age, we are conditioned to believe that confidence is something we earn after we've checked all the boxes, after we've proven ourselves enough times, or after we've become flawless in the eyes of others. But true confidence doesn't work that way. It isn't built on the illusion of perfection. It is built on the solid foundation of self-trust, the unshakable belief that no matter what happens, you can handle it. Perfection is fragile. It depends on external validation, on everything going right, on the approval of people who may never truly see your worth. Self-trust, on the other hand, is resilient. It is born from the quiet understanding that even when things go wrong, you have the inner strength to learn, adapt, and rise again. When you trust yourself, you no longer need the world to tell you that you are enough. You already know it. Confidence, then, becomes a natural expression of that inner knowing. When you rely on perfection to feel confident, you're constantly performing. Every mistake feels like a threat to your identity. Every setback feels personal. You start believing that your worth is tied to flawless outcomes, and that makes you anxious, guarded, and afraid to take risks. But when you build confidence from self-trust, mistakes stop being evidence of failure and become proof of courage. You begin to see challenges as opportunities to practice resilience rather than as tests of your value. You stop needing to be perfect to feel powerful. Self-trust is not something you're born with. It's something you cultivate through experience. Every time you make a decision that aligns with your truth, every time you keep a promise to yourself, every time you show up, even when it's uncomfortable, you're building self-trust. It's like strengthening a muscle. The more you honor your own word, the more you learn that you can rely on yourself. And that's what true confidence really is. The calm certainty that no matter what life throws at you, you'll figure it out. Confident women understand this deeply. They don't need to have all the answers before they take the first step. They don't wait for permission or for conditions to be perfect. They move forward because they trust that they will learn what they need to learn along the way. Their confidence comes from action, not from the illusion of control. They know that self-doubt will visit them, but they don't let it drive their decisions. Instead, they acknowledge it, breathe through it, and continue moving forward. They trust that their voice matters, even when it shakes. Perfectionism is rooted in fear. Fear of judgment, fear of rejection, fear of not being enough. Self-trust is rooted in love. Love for who you are, love for your potential, and love for your journey. When you chase perfection, your confidence depends on outcomes. When you practice self-trust, your confidence depends on your courage. The difference is profound. Perfection whispers, "I'll be confident when everything is flawless." Self-trust declares, "I'm confident because I know I can handle anything, even when it's not." The problem with perfection is that it keeps you waiting, waiting to start, waiting to speak, waiting to feel ready. It traps you in a cycle of comparison, constantly measuring yourself against impossible standards. But confidence that's rooted in self-trust frees you. You stop waiting for the perfect moment because you realize there is no perfect moment. There is only the one you create by showing up. You stop waiting to feel fearless because you understand that courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to move forward in spite of it. Every time you listen to your intuition, instead of the noise of the world, you strengthen your self-trust. Every time you fail but choose to try again, you reinforce your confidence. Every time you stand up for yourself, you tell your subconscious, I am worth believing in. These moments may seem small, but over time they build a foundation that no external circumstance can shake. Because confidence built on self-trust cannot be taken away, it's yours, and it grows stronger with every choice you make that honors your authentic self. Think about the women who inspire you the most. The ones who seem to radiate confidence effortlessly. Chances are, their power doesn't come from a perfect life. It comes from the way they carry themselves through imperfection. It's the way they speak their truth even when their voice trembles. It's the way they keep going after rejection. It's the way they forgive themselves for their flaws and keep learning anyway. That's self-trust in action. That's what makes their confidence real, grounded, and magnetic. Self-trust teaches you to separate your worth from your performance. It allows you to say, I am enough as I am, even as I grow. It gives you permission to try, to stumble, to learn, and to still feel worthy through it all. That kind of confidence doesn't depend on applause, outcomes, or validation. It lives inside you. And because it lives inside you, it can survive failure, criticism, and uncertainty. That's why confident women seem unshakable. They aren't relying on the world to hold them up. They've learned to stand on their own strength. The journey towards self-trust often begins with forgiveness. Forgiving yourself for the times you doubted your voice, for the times you played small to fit in, for the times you ignored your intuition because you wanted to please others. Self-trust grows when you stop punishing yourself for being human and start honoring yourself for trying. Confidence doesn't mean never doubting, it means knowing that doubt doesn't define you. It means choosing to keep going even when you're uncertain, because deep down, you trust that clarity will come through. Action. Building self-trust also means learning to listen to your own needs without guilt. It means setting boundaries that protect your peace, saying no when something doesn't serve you, and saying yes to what lights you up even if it scares you. Every time you honor your needs, you're reminding yourself that your well-being matters. That's what confident women do. They don't chase approval, they choose alignment. And that alignment, that unwavering connection to self, is what fuels their strength. The most liberating part of confidence rooted in self-trust is that it doesn't require perfection to shine. You can have bad days, moments of doubt, and times when you feel lost and still be confident. Because your confidence isn't about how you look or what you've achieved, it's about who you believe yourself to be. When you know you can rely on your inner wisdom, the world feels less intimidating. You stop fearing failure because you trust your ability to recover. You stop fearing rejection because you trust your own acceptance. You stop fearing imperfection because you understand that it's part of your growth. To trust yourself means to be your own ally. It means to stand by your side even when things fall apart. It means to believe in your potential even when others can't see it yet. That's what separates confident women from those still waiting for permission. They've made a promise to themselves to keep showing up, no matter what. They've learned that life will not always go as planned, but their power lies in their response, not in the circumstances. When you operate from self-trust, your confidence becomes quiet but powerful. You don't need to prove yourself, boast, or seek validation. You simply times no asterisk. You walk differently, you speak differently, you make decisions differently. People can feel that energy because it's authentic. It's not a mask you wear, it's the truth you live. Perfection tries to impress, but self-trust inspires. And when you inspire from a place of truth, you give others permission to do the same. Self-trust doesn't mean you never doubt, it means you no longer let doubt stop you. It doesn't mean you always succeed, it means you keep showing up. It doesn't mean you always have confidence, it means you know how to find it again when it wavers. Confidence built on self-trust is fluid. It bends, it adapts, it grows with you. That's why it lasts. It's not dependent on circumstances being ideal, it's dependent on your relationship with yourself being strong. The more you practice trusting yourself, the more natural confidence becomes. You stop second-guessing every decision because you trust that even if you're wrong, you can learn and recover. You stop comparing your journey to others because you trust your timing. You stop overanalyzing every move because you trust your intuition. And that creates freedom, the kind of freedom perfectionism could never give you. Freedom to express, to evolve, to live fully, without fear of making mistakes. The truth is, perfection is an illusion that keeps women playing small. It convinces them that confidence is something to be earned, not something to be remembered. But self-trust reminds you that you were born worthy, born capable, born with everything you need to create the life you desire. Confidence is simply the expression of that truth. The more you trust yourself, the more that truth shines through every word you speak, every choice you make, and every step you take. Confident women choose growth over approval. This choice is what separates those who live authentically from those who live to please. It is one of the most defining traits of true confidence because it means valuing your evolution more than your image, your progress more than perfection, and your truth more than the comfort of being liked. Approval can feel safe, familiar, even addictive, but growth, real, uncomfortable, soul-stretching growth requires courage. It means being willing to disappoint others in order to stay true to yourself. It means trading the fleeting satisfaction of validation for the lasting fulfillment of becoming who you're meant to be. When a woman chooses growth, she begins to understand that the opinions of others are not the measure of her worth. She realizes that approval is conditional, easily given and just as easily taken away. One moment people praise you, the next, they question your choices. To live for their approval is to hand them the power to define your value. But confident women reclaim that power. They understand that the only opinion that truly shapes their destiny is their own. They know that every time they make a choice that aligns with their purpose instead of public opinion, they grow stronger, wiser, freer. Choosing growth means being willing to be misunderstood. It means walking away from environments that once felt comfortable but no longer nurture your potential. It means saying no when everyone expects you to say yes, and saying yes when no one else believes in you. This path isn't easy because approval feels like acceptance, and rejection feels like pain. But confident women know that comfort rarely creates transformation. They understand that discomfort is the birthplace of growth, and they are brave enough to face it head-on. Approval chases applause. Growth chases authenticity. Approval says, be who they want you to be. Growth says, become who you are meant to be. The difference is subtle but life-changing. A woman seeking approval filters her every action through the lens of others' expectations. She measures her success by how many people clap for her, but a confident woman listens to her inner compass. She measures her success by how much she learns, how much she expands, how deeply she honors her own truth. The applause may come, or it may not, but either way, she keeps growing. From childhood, many women are conditioned to seek approval. They're taught to be agreeable, to avoid confrontation, to make others comfortable even at the expense of their own voice. Society praises the good girl, who follows the rules, but rarely celebrates the woman who breaks them to follow her purpose. Yet the confident woman learns to unlearn this conditioning. She understands that approval might win her temporary acceptance, but authenticity earns her lasting peace, and peace is far more valuable than popularity. When you choose growth over approval, you start to see life as a journey rather than a performance. You stop asking, what will people think? And start asking, what will help me grow? That question becomes your compass. It guides your decisions, your boundaries, your ambitions. Growth may require you to leave behind certain versions of yourself, versions that were built to please others. It may mean outgrowing relationships that no longer align with your purpose. It may even mean walking a path that others don't understand. But confident women know that personal evolution always demands a shedding of the old. Growth asks you to stand tall in your truth, even when it's uncomfortable. Approval asks you to shrink yourself to fit in. Growth asks you to take risks, to try new things, to fail publicly and still keep going. Approval asks you to play it safe, to do what's expected, to hide your flaws so others feel comfortable. Growth builds resilience. Approval builds dependency. A confident woman chooses the former because she understands that strength doesn't come from being liked, it comes from being real. In choosing growth, Confident women learn to embrace failure as a teacher. They understand that every setback carries wisdom, every disappointment brings direction. Approval seekers fear failure because it threatens their image, but growth seekers see failure as feedback. They use it to refine their purpose, to become sharper, wiser, more grounded. They know that growth doesn't always look graceful. It often looks like stumbling, starting over, and learning through pain. But through that process, they build the kind of confidence that no external approval can match. Choosing growth over approval also transforms how women relate to others. Instead of competing for validation, confident women collaborate from abundance. They uplift instead of compare, because they no longer see others as threats to their worth. Approval-based confidence is fragile. It depends on being seen as better, prettier, smarter, more successful. But when confidence comes from growth, it's expansive. It says, "Your light doesn't dim mine. We can rise together." That's what makes confident women magnetic. Their power doesn't come from trying to impress. It comes from inspiring through authenticity. When a woman chooses growth, she learns to speak her truth, even when it's unpopular. She voices her opinions, asks for what she deserves, and no longer apologizes for existing boldly. She stops minimizing herself to fit into spaces that were never designed to hold her power. Approval would rather she stay silent, agreeable, and predictable. Growth demands that she use her voice, even when it shakes. And each time she does, she grows a little stronger, a little freer, a little more herself. This journey is not without resistance. Choosing growth often means being labeled as too much, too ambitious, or too outspoken. Approval seekers might whisper that she's changed, that she's different now. But confident women know that change is not betrayal, it's evolution. They understand that outgrowing old versions of yourself is not arrogance, it's alignment. Every transformation may distance you from some people, but it will bring you closer to your purpose. Approval gives temporary comfort, but growth builds lasting confidence. Approval relies on others, growth depends on you. When you live for approval, you constantly edit yourself, softening your edges, hiding your emotions, pretending to have it all together. You mold yourself into what others find acceptable, and in the process, you lose the essence of who you are. But when you choose growth, you give yourself permission to be messy, imperfect, evolving. You give yourself space to experiment, to explore, to expand beyond what you thought possible. The path of growth teaches you self-compassion. You begin to see yourself not as someone who must always have it right, but as someone brave enough to keep trying. Approval is rigid, it punishes mistakes. Growth is flexible, it celebrates learning. Confident women lean into that flexibility. They allow themselves to be works in progress. They no longer need to prove their worth because they understand that worth is not something to be earned, it's something to be expressed. Choosing growth also changes how women handle criticism. When you live for approval, criticism feels personal, even paralyzing. But when you live for growth, criticism becomes information. It's something you can examine, take what's useful, and release the rest. Confident women don't crumble under judgment, they stay grounded in their truth. They understand that not everyone will understand their path, and that's okay. Their focus isn't on convincing others, it's on becoming better than they were yesterday. Growth is uncomfortable because it asks you to stretch beyond your limits. It asks you to question long-held beliefs, to face your fears, to embrace uncertainty. But that discomfort is where transformation happens. Confident women don't avoid discomfort, they move through it. They understand that the pain of growth is far less damaging than the pain of staying small for the sake of approval. They know that every season of discomfort brings a deeper layer of strength, clarity, and self-awareness. Approval tells you to fit in. Growth tells you to stand out. Approval says, don't rock the boat. Growth says, build a better ship. Approval asks you to maintain peace, even if it means betraying your truth. Growth asks you to honor your truth, even if it disrupts the peace. That's why choosing growth takes courage. It means being willing to walk alone for a while. It means trusting that your authenticity will eventually attract the right people, the right opportunities, the right experiences that align with who you really are. Confident women understand that true belonging doesn't come from approval, it comes from authenticity. When you live in alignment with your truth, you attract relationships that see you, not the version of you that's edited for acceptance. You attract spaces that celebrate your growth rather than demand your conformity. And in those spaces, your confidence flourishes naturally because it's rooted in who you are, not in who others expect you to be. Growth requires patience. It's not linear, and it's not always visible. There are seasons of progress and seasons of stillness, moments of clarity and moments of confusion. Approval wants quick results. It wants to be seen succeeding now. Growth is quieter. It happens in the small choices, the daily disciplines, the moments when no one is watching. It's built in silence, but revealed in strength. That's why confident women trust the process. They don't rush their journey to satisfy external timelines. They honor their own pace. Choosing growth over approval also gives you freedom from fear. When you no longer need everyone's validation, you start taking bigger leaps. You apply for that promotion, start that business, speak up in that meeting, or pursue that dream you once thought was too far-fetched. Because your motivation shifts from, "What if I fail?" to "What if I grow?" That mindset is what fuels confidence, not because you expect perfection, but because you trust your ability to evolve through anything that comes your way. Approval is a cage disguised as comfort. Growth is liberation disguised as challenge. One keeps you stuck in the familiar, the other propels you into your potential. A confident woman understands that she cannot soar if she keeps clipping her own wings for the sake of being liked. She realizes that approval might give her applause, but growth gives her purpose. And once a woman discovers the power of purpose, she never trades it for applause again. Choosing growth over approval is a lifelong commitment. It's choosing to live as the author of your own story rather than the character in someone else's script. It's choosing to evolve, even when it's uncomfortable, even when others don't understand, even when it means standing alone. Because confident women know that their worth is not defined by how many people approve of them, but by how deeply they honor their own becoming.